Talk Shoes. Recorded live.
Welcome to a special episode of the Castle Dracula podcast, where we find out what life would be like without Jason Henderson as the host. Appropriately, this is the Nightmare Before Christmas episode, but since I'm sure everything will go swimmingly, I'm choosing to call it the It's a Wonderful Podcast episode. Bear in mind that if you haven't seen today's movie, we're going to be talking about it from the perspective of horror fans who have, so warning, spoilers ahead. I'm your guest host, Julia Guzman, attorney and provider of color commentary. I'm usually the token female, but not so today because we have a special guest, again, the lovely and talented Jaime Barr. Yay! Jaime is a musician, pin-up model, educator, and the lead vocalist and upright bassist for Austin's premier all-female rock and roll band, Danger Cakes, and they just debuted their new album, Dessert First, from Deep Eddy Records, which you can learn more about at www.dangercakes.net. Say hi, Jaime.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. That was so nice. That was a nice introduction, Julia.
Thank
well
you.
done.
And representing the Y chromosomes everywhere are Drew Edwards and Tony Salvaggio. Drew is the self-proclaimed head weirdo at Halloween Man, a long-running horror webcomic, which you can find at halloweenman.com. Say hi, Drew.
Hello, you internet people.
And Tony Salvaggio is co-creator of Manga Psycom Book 3 from Right Stuff and Tokyo Pop, writer of comics like Psycom from Tokyo Pop and Clockworks from Humanoids, and rock star extraordinaire in not one but two bands, Deserts of Mars and Pocari Shred. Say hi, Tony.
Howdy.
And the four of us will now regale you with our opinions of Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, which I'm guessing most of our listeners have probably seen at some point, though it may have been back in 1993 when it was released. Nightmare Before Christmas is described by Wikipedia as an American stop-motion musical fantasy horror film, directed by Henry Selick and produced/co-written by Tim Burton. And IMDb captures the plot quite nicely and succinctly. It states simply, Jack Skellington, king of Halloween Town, discovers Christmas Town, but doesn't quite understand the concept. To me, this is a story of how existential angst can get you in all kinds of trouble. And I would love to hear everyone's first impressions, beginning with our special guest, Miss Jaime.
This is one of my favorite Christmas movies or Christmas/Halloween movies. You can watch it most of the year round, and it works out. But I think about it now, 93. I was 10 years old when I first saw this movie, and here, 2 years later, still enjoying it just as much. I think that the film itself is just stunning. I absolutely love stop motion. I have always been a big fan of the old, Frosty the Snowman and, Jack Frost and Rudolph stop motion pictures, that came out back in the day. And, it's funny because we were just talking about the commentary, and Tim Burton was saying how much, he was affected by those as well. And it's just something that, I always, when this movie first came out, it just caught my eye, and I was like, nothing looks like this. Nothing, all the Disney movies that were around at the time that were, the normal, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, all that had that certain look to them. But this was different and textured and almost tangible. And I just found it not only, again, stunning, but I love the music. And that was probably when I first started really getting into the work of Danny Elfman, and led me into, watching The Simpsons and even the Batman movies, because I hadn't even been into it until then. The plot and is just great. And I don't know, I don't want to steal Drew's thunder because I know exactly what he's going to talk about. But I guess I kind of have the inside scoop on that one. But, the existential part of it all does make it quite an interesting story, and a very grown-up one that you don't always realize that as a child, but when you're older and dealing with the same sort of dilemmas that Jack Skellington has it kind of puts things into perspective. So.
Great. Thanks. Drew, what do you think?
Well, Jamie's already kind of set me up for this, but naturally, how could I not love this movie? It's a love letter to not only Halloween but Christmas, which is my second favorite holiday. But this is what I always say about this film. It is the best children's movie ever made about someone having a midlife crisis. Mm-hmm. or quarter-life crisis, if you're one of those, guys in their mid-20s who's getting a head start. But it's a very adult ideas about identity and being frustrated with being in a rut, with having to do the same thing day in and day out. But it's done in such a fanciful way that, anybody of any age can relate to it. But, Jack Skellington is effectively having a midlife crisis. And the fact that this is a kid's movie dealing with basically such an adult concept and done so beautifully always makes me way happier than it should. I mean, this is masterful filmmaking, and it's not just a true holiday classic, but I think a classic film, which is kind of funny because it started out, when this movie was released, it was kind of the black sheep of the Disney canon. It was initially released as a Touchstone Pictures movie and sort of grandfathered back into the Disney fold as it's become more respectable. But again, how could it not? This is a beautiful, beautiful film.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And Tony.
Yeah, I guess I saw, 93. I guess I saw this in college, and it's pretty unbelievable. I mean, I was going to school for computer animation, and so seeing something, animated, stop motion wise, I've always loved that feel. I'm a big Harryhausen fan. Of course, Rankin Bass. I grew up with all of that, and the music is amazing. Like all of it just works. I mean, it's kind of become, there's kind of been a backlash because it became so big, and the look, often imitated, and became, the staple of like Hot Topic and stuff like that. And I think people kind of lump that in and forget sometimes that how different this was when it came out, and how influential it has been afterwards. But I think I'm kind of biased. I just realized today, as I got into my car with my Jack Skellington keychain and had my Jack Skellington, beanie cap, that tonight we were doing this movie. I'm like, yeah, I think perhaps I might be a little bit biased as far as this goes. So, but all of it just works. I mean, my wife and I, if we travel during the holidays, often we travel to family, and I think it's the first music we put on when we get in the car, and listen to that first before we have whatever holiday mix of tunes that we have going. So, it's definitely, it still holds up even after almost 20 years. Now I feel kind of old.
You felt old. Jane was talking about how she was 10.
I know. I was thinking the same thing.
I think I was like 16 when this came out.
Exactly. Well, I was in college, so I'm.
No, and see, you guys, that's the thing is, I would love to pretend that I was 10, but I was actually graduated from college in 1993, so I've got you all beat. It's funny. I didn't even, and I, for sure, when I've seen it in the past, have not thought about it as being a midlife crisis movie, but I totally agree with you, Drew, that that's what it is. And I would go one further and say that he's 40 and he's looking, like if he were married, he'd be looking to, he'd be looking outside of the marriage, because I totally saw it as always, I saw it as a metaphor for relationships, because I always do all these movies. And so I was just thinking, he's like, okay, he's bored, tired of the same old thing at home, so he goes out to find something new, and he finds this new awesome place where there's like bright lights and fun, and it's exotic and exciting, and Christmas Town. And then he comes home and he's trying to get his lady or whatever to be all blinged out and exciting too. And he's like, hey, let's try this, honey. What do you think, baby? And the town's like, I'm gonna be what I'm gonna be, so you're just gonna have to deal with it. I can kind of meet you halfway and do a few things differently, but I'm not gonna be Christmas Town, okay? So, I totally went this whole that whole direction, but
no, you took it a step further than I did, but I think beautifully. Kudos to you.
Jason wants to know what I'm doing to his show.
Anyway. Sally's, it seems like it's more, I wouldn't say like she's trying to like, they haven't fallen in love yet, it seems like. Like she's, kind of standing on the sidelines, kind of looking at him adoringly, but, he's so busy and wrapped up in his career.
Well, that's the real romance.
She's talking about, she's speaking metaphorically about relationships.
Yeah, I was saying that the town is the metaphorical wife, but yes, I agree that the real romance with Sally is a different it's a different thing altogether. But I was thinking the towns are
I have to say, Sally is a very fully realized female character for a Disney movie at this. She's not a Disney princess. She's got a different vibe to her. Sally's pretty cool.
Well, I don't think this is a Disney movie because it's a Tim Burton movie. Is it owned by Disney?
Even more contentious than that. I saw Coraline with Henry Selick in attendance one time, and if you look on IMDb and stuff, Henry Selick was in no way begrudging Tim Burton, but from when people were asking stuff, and I wondered sometimes if basically a lot of his thanks, and he's very thankful to Tim Burton for getting it, but a lot of Tim Burton's push on the movie was kind of keeping Disney away from the movie. And often I think Henry Selick deserves a lot more credit than he might get. It's unfortunate that James and the Giant Peach afterwards, didn't do so hot because, I'll think a lot of the, like I said, if you read IMDb, Tim Burton was on the set maybe 8 or 10 days, but it was his vision and what he brought to it. And so, to me, I'm very interested in the kind of behind the scenes. I wish that Henry Selick wasn't quite so pushed into the back, as far as I think
it's kind of hard not to think of this as a Tim Burton because it's very much his visual style. He came up with the concept, and all of the voice actors on this movie are curbed from his sort of rotating cast.
Sure.
From his live-action movies. I mean, Pee Wee Herman's one of the voices. Danny Elfman does the music and is one of the voices. The mom from Beetlejuice is one of the voices.
Right. But, I mean, as just, kind of reading things and seeing different interviews and stuff like that. Like I said, in no way have I ever gotten the impression that Henry Selick's bitter or anybody involved doesn't, put Tim Burton at the top of what, of getting this movie and making it happen. I just, the animator and kind of behind the scenes guy of a lot of stuff in me really wishes that Henry Selick was like the same kind of brand name. And maybe he doesn't want to be,
Well, he definitely got a decent career out of it. I mean, from this he got James and the Giant Peach, and then Coraline, and I don't think he can. Okay, yes, he did Monkey Bone and Monkey Bone, but I don't think. Huh?
He didn't actually brand himself. That's the thing.
No, that's
Tim Burton, is out there, and he produced the movie. He was the one submitting it to the publishers and,
right.
getting someone to back it up. It was his, not only like his vision idea, but it was, based off of a poem. And even Danny Elfman credits a lot of the music, like the lyrics to it, were, right out of Tim Burton's mouth. I mean, not just his mouth, but, his pen as well. And he would go in there and talk to Danny Elfman, and they would write it as, like, songs for it as they were writing the story before the storyline had been fully written. So,
right.
I'm not saying that I think, Harry didn't deserve some credit. I feel like he's maybe he is a little bit of like the silent hero behind everything, but he doesn't seem to be looking for the same type of attention that Tim Burton's going for.
I think that's some of that's intentional, some of it's unintentional. Like I said, my it's just me bringing it up, because I personally, I guess, since you see so many, there's no doubt how important Tim Burton is to this film, right? But I don't know. I just, like I said, I just wish I'm an underdog kind of guy. And I just wish that more people knew. And like I said, and it's totally right. He doesn't brand himself, and maybe he doesn't even want that. But I just feel like I wish that he did more, because is pretty awesome. I guess that's maybe my point.
To me, it seems like this movie is Tim Burton, because I don't really know Selick, but Tim Burton and Danny Elfman is this sort of like marriage that just I can't separate the two in this movie. I mean, it really seems to be like this creation of those two people. And even, Danny Elfman even sings the Jack Skellington songs. Right? That makes the whole movie for me.
It's the Christmas Rodgers and Hammerstein for twisted people, for people like this.
Right.
Yeah, what do you guys think about the music?
Gilbert and Sullivan. He was trying to, in a lot of it, he was trying to, pay homage to Gilbert and Sullivan. A lot of Pirates and Penzance and all those, and he actually talks about in the commentary how what's this? When he wanted it to sound like a tongue twister, just like, I am the very model of a modern major general.
Right.
Just so, it is hard to sing. And, I appreciate that it wasn't just something like he whipped out and thought like, all right, this is catchy enough to work. It's something, that actually has heart and challenges himself. And that's one of the things. Danny Elfman's one of my all-time favorite composers of ever.
Absolutely.
So I can't say enough good things about him. And the music, I just love this soundtrack. I do too. I just every song, it's just so weird and catchy all at the same time, and just full of earworms. But the best kind.
Years and years, the music to this was a go-to thing for me for writing. If I was trying to get into a certain frame of mind, I would pop the soundtrack to this. And then a couple of years back, even a little, about 5 or 6 years back, like Disney did like a tribute album with like contemporary rock acts doing these songs. And some of the songs are good, and some of the songs were bad. But I got that, and that became something I rotated. So the music. This is definitely, I think, as far as Danny Elfman goes, his Julia is almost right. This is sort of the magnum opus of Danny Elfman.
I think so.
Well, it's just so the songs are so integral to the plot. You kind of feel like it's. I've never seen, or I've seen very few musicals where you just flow in and out of the songs so with such it's ease and just it's just so smooth. You don't feel like, oh, and now we're going to stop everything and have a song. It's like he's just kind of like, they start out with the This Is Halloween song, and they're just going around doing their thing, and then he's kind of around just kind of feeling blue, and there's probably some blue, I can't remember what the score is there. And then when he gets to Christmas Town, he's like, what's this? Like you were saying, Jaime, and then it's
like
perfectly part of the plot.
it is set as an opera. That's the thing. Like, it is written almost as an opera where, you know, like there's certain parts where people are speaking. Those are oratorios. And that's, you know, so that it doesn't seem like, you know, where you're in a musical, it just suddenly stops and everybody breaks into song and dance and then they go back to regular life. And, you know, it's not like insert song here, you know. Right.
Which is how I felt like I was watching Rent the other day, and I was like, I feel like it's so forced, you know. And now we will sing, you know. And then I mean, you know, there is some good stuff, but this just to me is just so it's so smooth.
I think also the fact that these are non-human characters makes it a lot easier. To, even the characters that are human, like Santa Claus, you know, they're done in sort of a non-traditional shape. And for some reason that makes the fact that they're breaking into song a little bit more palatable. It feels like this is natural in the world that they live in where every little holiday has their own little township that has to go into creating each one of these holidays. And when you buy into that reality of that, suddenly you're in tune to this thing where it's the most natural thing in the world for these bizarre characters to sing. You know, it feels organic of the world that they live in.
Let's talk about the characters a little bit, because they're really unusual, some of these creatures. What do you guys think about, like, for example, the Oogie Boogie guy who's made entirely of bugs?
He may be my favorite of the side characters. Like his design is so
the whole Vegas gambling thing.
Yeah, well, he also he looks like the Pillsbury Doughboy gone very, very wrong to me. Like he's not. He's the only, like, even though all of the Halloween Town characters are monsters, I think he's the only one that's actually truly menacing, and I guess that's appropriate because you never really get the sense that, like, Jack or, you know, Sally or the Mad Scientist actually want to harm people. They just want to frighten them, whereas Oogie Boogie is legitimately somewhat murderous, it seems.
Well,
but,
even the Halloween land people are scared of him. I mean, he's a legend, a horror legend among Halloween people, which is, you know, how scary do you have to be?
But they're also scared of Jack.
Yeah, but in a different way entirely. Like, he can scare them, but it's not, you know, Oogie Boogie's like, you know, he's a legend. Like, even Jack has to give him a little bit of, you know, doubt. Like, wow, you know, Oogie Boogie, he's a serious guy. Like, even to Jack, who's, you know, the Pumpkin King, Oogie Boogie is a force to be reckoned with. That's, you know, that's pretty telling. And he looks it, you know, and he is frightening. I saw it when I was old enough, but I can only imagine the parts where, like, he disintegrates into bugs and he's, you know, gets all the cool lighting when he's singing his songs and stuff, how scary that probably is to kids. And also, but, you know, the way he looks, like it's, I think Drew's, you know, frightening doughboy kind of analogy is a pretty good one because, you know, even a kid, you're like, whoa, that's an interesting thing, even though I'm supposed to be really scared, and I don't know.
Well, he's still very charismatic. The way, like you think of almost like the Batman villains being those sort of, you know, they're menacing, but they're also appealing, and he's got that same sort of charisma.
Funny that you mentioned Batman, because Tim Burton's actually working on one of the Batman movies while he was doing this, which is why he didn't direct it. He was working on Batman Returns instead. Right. And so
I'm glad, you know, like, as much as I would like to see him get, like, a full director's credit on that, like, I'm glad that he did work on Batman Returns because that's, like, one of my other favorite bizarre Christmas movies.
Right. Yeah.
I was saying, but the Oogie Boogie Man also, like, we were talking about the way he looks and instead of the voice and you know, and the charisma do remind me so much of Little Shop of Horrors, you know, the plant, and you know, or Audrey II, I should say, you know, just like the voice styling and everything, you know, it's kind of, you know, it's old, you know, like jazzy, almost vaudeville-esque sound to him, and yet very Little Richard as well. And I don't know, it does something where it creeps you out, but you're amused at the same time. But I have to say my favorite character which, most girls I think would probably pick Sally, but I love the mayor. The mayor always cracks me up so much.
Mm-hmm.
Just how, it's like, I'm only an elected politician. I can't make a decision on my own, And then it's just, the two faces of him, and it's just always, I find that to be one of the most amusing characters in the whole thing.
Yeah, they use the two faces very, very amusingly. Like at whatever point he's just, I don't remember what happens, he's just delighted by, so all of a sudden his head spins around and he's got the happy face. I love that. And then of course he sounds the alarm. He gets so panicked whenever Jack's missing for like 5 minutes because there's only 364 days left till next Halloween.
Yeah.
He sounds the alarm.
He's also a good example of an adult theme or an adult concept as this sort of impotent politician. And, maybe this is, the start, children's movies now, it's very common for them to throw in things for parents to be amused by. But it wasn't so commonplace back then. It was just kind of the start of that. And, he's a very well-realized satirical character, not just his, the fact that he's literally a two-faced politician, but his dialogue is very, very, very spot on.
Well, I think that definitely comes from a lot of Tim Burton stuff. Is he's not one to talk down to kids, right? The best movies don't treat the child and the adult in almost the same respect. And this is a movie that here it is. Kids can enjoy it, but adults can also enjoy it because I'm just making a movie that people will enjoy, that has all the stuff that kids enjoy. And growing up, and I think that's a cool. I think that's what works, right? It's so. We're lucky lately we get a lot less of it, but for a long time, kids' movies meant something an adult would just tear you apart to go see because it was just awful, like for adults to sit through. So, and I think that respect and the way it's written has a big hand in why we all still watch it every Halloween and every Christmas and probably a few times in between.
This is the amount of character design in this. We could probably spend 2 episodes just talking about like the different character designs. I think though I do think another one that is definitely worth mention is Dr. Pinky Stein, because it's a stop-motion character in a wheelchair, and I can only think about how much of a headache that must have been for the technician that was animating that particular character.
And for anybody who doesn't remember who that is or who doesn't see the movie, God forbid, he's the one who is the local scientist doctor, but he's also created for himself Sally as his companion, and he has her prisoner because she actually wants her freedom, and so he keeps her around by taking her arm or by just locking her up or whatever. But she keeps poisoning him and not like permanently, but like drugging him so that he can so she can get away for a short while at a time. And anyway, it is an interesting character. But it's a good point that you make about the animation, because I don't really think in technical terms like that, so it didn't occur to me that would be really challenging to do with the stop motion.
So much that they had to do that, as an animator, seeing it, it was a constant like, holy cow, how'd they do that? Oh man, that must have been crazy. Like, I can't imagine doing that. Like, it's, I think you're probably maybe more lucky that you don't think about those things. But it takes away in the fact that maybe sometimes, I was distracted, but it then also adds, for me, an extra depth of like, wow, the craft involved in this is just amazing. It was beyond, there wasn't anything really done like that I know of. There are plenty of amazing stop-motion directors, and, not to take away from any of their work for sure, but as far as, getting something that's as mass market as Nightmare Before Christmas out there, and all the technical hurdles that it must have involved and the time it took to make it. Man, it just works. It's amazing just that it even got completed and, paved the way for a lot of other stuff like that.
Yeah, it took 3 years.
Yeah. That's
Jamie and I were watching the DVD before this, and one of the things that I found very interesting is for certain characters, they had a fully motion head where they could move the mouth and the eyes and everything. But for characters like Jack, he just had literally a different head for every facial expression. They had hundreds of Jack Skellington heads, and then when they needed him to do a different facial expression, they just popped one head off and put another one on.
Yeah, it's so amazing. I just love all the touches. Plus, since it's Halloween, man, Halloween Land. Nice flip there, but there's all the archetypes you could want. I mean, there's so much attention because Burton and the crew are so steeped in, especially Universal horror. Every archetype. I mean, the fact that you have to have a mad scientist there.
Well, they even go so far as to have the
Igor.
They have Igor, but I'm saying as far as they have things that you would not even think they could get away with in a kids movie. They have they have
over a guy with the overalls with the axe in his head.
Yeah, they have basically a slasher movie villain walking around. They have the devil, which I was like, man, how did they get that bad?
He's awesome, and man, I love the, as far as talking characters, I love the musicians, the street musicians too.
Mm-hmm. They're so great. Yeah, because you keep having just music playing, and all of a sudden you'll see the musicians are actually playing the music. What do they call that? Oh, I forget what they call that when and Jason could tell me because he's actually the one who always mentions it. But when they have the music that you think is the background music, and then it turns out that's actually being played as part of the scene.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll pop in and tell me.
I don't know that term. I should know.
Yeah. I really, and they lead into Sally's thing, which was one of my favorites. And I knew a band. There was a industrial, dark wave band back when Rain and I were in the same genre, called Numeralia, and they would cover her song.
But the Sally's theme?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was always awesome.
I've heard that covered a couple of times. Fiona Apple did one that actually got some radio play, and then on that CD that I was talking about, they had Evanescence do it, which I thought that one was a little overproduced.
See, I need to get you probably. I think it's on their EP or their CD. I'll have to see if the Numeralia one is, if I have that around, and let you hear that, because I think awesome. I don't know whatever happened to them, but
that's probably really cool. The best song in my opinion. I don't know. It's tough. I would have a hard time choosing between that and this is Halloween. Certainly really loops you in straight from the get-go.
Well, we sing. Rain and I sing a lot of just made up songs around the house, and so we tend to sing a lot of variations of Nightmare Before Christmas themes, and often just randomly, what's this? Mm-hmm. Just about random things in our house. Maybe more about the cats as well. But whatever the cats are doing. What's this? It's kittens on a chair. What's this? Kittens everywhere. It's like that kind of thing. But it's just, there's so many. And that CD though, one thing though, I tried listening to that, the remade tribute songs, and I can't remember any of them that I liked. I certainly didn't go out and rebuy that album.
There was
really enjoy
some of the stuff that was purely, the best stuff that was on that was the stuff that was purely instrumental. I have to say, they had a few that were just instrumental groups, and they nailed it. A lot of the stuff ended up being kind of overproduced, and
a lot of it missed the feel of the original, which is really weird because they were close to the cover, close to the original, but a lot of them I just really like.
The Tiger Army did a version of Oogie Boogie song that didn't actually make it onto the CD, and it's actually better than anything on the CD.
Yeah, I don't own that one, and a friend of mine had it, and we listened to it in his car, a decent amount, and it never really hooked me that I needed to get that. It just, I don't know, something about it, and I'm not even a purist. Like, a good cover is a good cover, and I've listened to many, many good covers, but none of them really stuck with me as something I wanted to.
I have to ask this, since we have spent the last few minutes talking about the music for everybody else. What is everybody's favorite song?
Ooh.
Well, right now,
I don't know the name of it. Oh, somewhere deep inside of these bones. I sing that all the time. I love that song.
Jack's Lament. That song's called Jack's Lament.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
That is really good. It's hard, man. It's hard. It would be really hard for me to pick. I still like Sally's theme, I think. I think her. Yeah.
It's hard, it's hard to know because some of them are so catchy. I mean, like I've been stuck on what's this, and then This Is Halloween. I'll get stuck on that. But there's just there's some pretty songs too. I'm trying to think which one was the one that I was really. And by the way, Jason says it's called diegetic music whenever they pop in whenever there's music playing in the.
Uh-huh.
But there's a Making Christmas song when they're showing. I really liked how they did that one because they had the parallel towns. Like they showed Halloween Town making Christmas, and they showed Christmas Town, and how so they were putting together. They have all these different people putting the presents or little elves or whatever, putting the presents into the boxes. So you have in Halloween Town the idea of preparing for Christmas and making Christmas is sticking like shrunken heads or spiders or whatever into these boxes. And of course, again, if you don't remember the film, what happens is that Jack, and I do want to talk some about Jack himself. Jack has Santa Claus kidnapped and then takes over and delivers all these presents to all the kids in the world, and they're all these horrifying presents that attack people and scare the living crud out of everybody.
Also, the magic of that is Jack's take on what's, like, he's correcting them. Like, they have ideas that are terrible, and his ideas, they're like, no, it's this. And he feels really, like, he's very adamant about his idea being, like, the one. Like, no, I've seen this. You just don't understand my vision.
That's been dead for much too long. Something fresher, something pleasant.
Yeah, it's just a different take on how wrong it can be. But he's so into it and adamant, and he's so excited about it. And it also has the classic Christmas trope of the assembly line of Jack's elves are these miscreant creatures who are all part of of Christmas Town. It's just that brings it really back to the kind of Rankin Bass kind of feel of things, And it's really hard to pick just one though. I mean,
well, there's another great song at the end when not quite at the end, but when everything goes terribly wrong and he explodes and is caught by a statue of an angel, and then he sings a song about what have I done,
yeah.
But then, like, I love, this is like so typical of the character of Jack, that he starts out feeling bad, like what have I done, but then he ends up feeling good about it. He's like, no, it's all good, it's fine. So he's a very upbeat kind of character.
At that point, he's realized who he's come back to appreciating who he really is.
Yeah.
He had he got kind of, he discovered Christmas, he's discovered his enjoyment of Christmas, but he's also, realized he is who he is, and he sets out to make things right, which is ultimately, makes him a redeemable character. It's funny, on the DVD they have the children's book being read by Christopher Lee, and the Oogie Boogie character is not in it, and Jack is much more sinister, and I think they kind of had to create the Oogie Boogie character so Jack would be a little bit more likable and have the point where he does realize, oh well, I shouldn't have kidnapped Santa Claus, and this is an ill-planned venture. I should have never given up on being the king of Halloween. And
I like
the
reaction too, where he ultimately
Santa's
is like,
having none of
right,
it. Santa's grouchy.
No, well, obviously, and he has every right to be. You know, he's like, man, you really, this could have been so much worse. I never tried to be Halloween.
But yeah, what was cool was that he didn't act. What I liked about it was that he didn't act like this was a strange land that was weird, that's strange to him. He acted like, oh my gosh, you guys, this is really silly what you did. And, I don't know if I'm going to bring any presents this year because you've been naughty. And then he comes through and, delivers snow for them. So, I mean, they're just some naughty kids on his list. It's not this strange, town that he's horrified by.
Right. Yeah, he kind of knows, you get the impression he's like, oh, look, it's Halloween Town. And,
yeah.
But...
Yeah, I want to know the logic behind that, because the Halloween Town people seem to have no idea that there's these other
Santa's magical. Santa goes all over the world, and so he sees every place.
I get the impression.
Well, I want to know why they aren't aware. I want to know why they aren't aware of each other. That is something, even the first time I saw it, I was like, why don't they? I mean, wouldn't they have trade and barter set up or something? I mean, they're all connected by these magical doors. I also find myself wondering they must have named things I wonder what Thanksgiving Town is like.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Well, they were actually there was an idea that Disney had of making a sequel to the movie, and then Tim Burton's like, no sequels. I don't want anything. I don't want any Thanksgiving Town.
that's good that he has that much control, because it just some things can use a sequel, and there have been good sequels. It's a lot of times it's really easy to ruin a good thing.
Nothing would be as pure and as primal as this, because I think for the most part, Halloween and Christmas are easily the two best loved holidays in the United States, and to have the two of them collide like this, that's what really gets everybody so oh, wow. And, if it was Nightmare Before Valentine's Day, suddenly you're like, yeah.
Well, he said, Tim Burton says
well, for Bloody Valentine, isn't that true? I mean, it's not a cartoon, but
Tim Burton says he actually got the idea. He got the idea because of what you said, Drew, because of the collision of Halloween and Christmas in the stores, whenever they're taking down Halloween and putting up Christmas. And so he said he saw the juxtaposition of there's all this creepy ghouls and goblins stuff in the clearance area, and then there's all the Christmas stuff that's out, and it made him go, that's interesting.
Yeah, he said he used to always put Christmas decorations on the tree too for Christmas. Halloween decorations on it. Yeah, that doesn't actually sound weird.
What I mean is also the thing, what we're talking about with the decorations. Halloween and Christmas have the two best visual palettes of any of the holidays. I guess St. Patrick's Day you have green and leprechauns and everything, but I mean
Easter and But no, I agree.
Yeah, when you see two colors together, you can, there's no doubt. If you just see red, you may think Valentine's Day, you may not. If you see green, you may not. But when you see black and orange and you see red and green, you're instantly in in Halloween area or Christmas area, or Also, it's funny that he didn't want to commercialize, with sequels, but yeah, it's a very, very commercial merchandise property. I mean, there's still tons of just awesome stuff coming out of Japan who really, really, really embraced it. And, you can still go to stores and there's Nightmare Before Christmas, I got Rain Nightmare Before Christmas footy pajamas, from I forgot where. Stuff like that where it's still cool stuff. It's one of the few Christmas items I think you see people wearing year round too. I see people in Jack Skellington things all year long.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, like I said, I have that Jack Skellington keychain, and I actually just got a new one because my old one, the Jack Skellington, fell off, and I was just like, oh, where do I find one? Luckily, Amazon came to the rescue. I had no idea they still made them because it was a gift from my friend Hira from Japan. And actually, like out of a crane game, just got a Jack Skellington like head that changes colors when you turn it on. It's like a lit. So it's still like a vibrant thing. But for the most part, I don't remember seeing anything and going, this is enough.
And
so.
I just love. I think I love this movie for so many reasons, but I think I love the fact that it doesn't. We're talking about the embodiment of converging holidays, but it's one of those movies that some people are. I don't know if you are one or maybe you know one. Some people just dislike holidays, and I never understood that. It's just a time to celebrate. No matter what you're celebrating, isn't it fun just to celebrate something?
Right.
And just to think of it so far out of the box, not just limited to one, but specific, but converged to the second. I think I don't know. Speaking of thinking outside of the box, my sister was invited to a holiday party, and everybody was supposed to be a holiday costume party, and dressed up as your just dressed up in a holiday. What it could be, whatever holiday. So there were a couple people who dressed up, as Santa, and of course there were all, lots of ladies dressed up as, trashy Santa. Well, I hate to say, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but Santa sluts. And, I think there were a few girls, my sister said, wearing booty shorts and, ears, saying they were, the Easter Bunny. And my sister walked in dressed as George Washington. And I just think about that. It's like, we're talking here about, having a specific look to a holiday. Maybe there should be something for President's Day. Wouldn't that be interesting? So love affair with Abraham Lincoln. Maybe that should be the next in the Lincoln Mania.
We always joked about, I think there's been several places who have picked it up, but, with how, slutty costumes are gone, what's next? It's the slutty.
I've seen Slutty Sally from Nightmare of Christmas.
Yeah. Or slutty.
Everything,
slutty
everything. There's always slutty every single thing.
For President's Day. What's that like?
Yeah.
Yes.
Slutty George Washington.
Well,
Slutty Roosevelt.
there's certainly, you can certainly be like a slutty Uncle Sam, with the little red, white, and blue.
True.
Slutty FDR may be easier.
I don't know. Slutty George Washington, pulling out the wooden teeth. I don't know.
Hey, it occurs to me one set of characters we haven't talked about is the little lock, stock, and barrel kids.
Oh, yeah.
They're so
I love them.
funny.
Oh, well, let's talk about that. One thing
what bothers me is that they address them as boys. And it's clearly the one is a witch, and she is supposed to be a girl.
Yeah. But one thing that is, that you're talking about people who dislike holidays, and, one thing that is kind of cool is Nightmare Before Christmas has kind of given a lot of people who maybe are sick of, the hubbub of holidays, it's kind of can be their holiday thing or our holiday thing. Sometimes I'm one of those people, or have been one of those people, who's, look, the Christmas ornaments and the Christmas music is there already. Like, come on, where's the Charlie Brown Christmas of this? But I think Nightmare Before Christmas has given many people that, this is the Christmas I feel comfortable with. And, I think a lot of Tim Burton movies have given people that same feel, where you fit in. I think that's really awesome.
I think the other thing that's neat about it is it also allows, those of us with, this, I guess, I hate that this is going to sound pretentious, but why not? A darker frame of mind to have their little moment, once or twice a year where they embrace something very wholeheartedly wholesome. Because Jack can embrace Christmas.
Right.
We all can embrace Christmas.
Yeah. And people, you have some friends who are like, oh, I can't believe this. And to me, it's always sad that if they can't enjoy, like, yes, I understand the commercialism of it and everything. It's like, but come on, at least let us have this time. And like I said, I also realize that for some people it's really painful because of various things. You know, you may have a Christmas that's more like the girl in Gremlins.
I was just thinking that.
and I understand that, and not everything can be happy. But one thing that I think, if that doesn't affect you quite like that, like at least there's some time, a time period where by chance we can all at least try, like a lot more people than normal are trying to just get along well and do things for others and stuff like that, you know, and I think that's important, you know, and that's at the heart of it too, because Jack just really wants the best Halloween Christmas. He wants the best his Christmas that can possibly be, and throughout the whole thing, he's just really trying to give the kids the best Christmas he can give, even though it ends up being really terrible for all the people not in Christmas, and then some of the people claiming Halloween Town, you know.
Julia really brought up the trick-or-treaters, and I like, before we segued into this, and I really want to talk about them. So
they're the embodiment.
I'm backing her up on that.
Yeah, they're the embodiment of the kid part of Halloween. I think that's in all the mischief, you know, that entails. They're necessary, I think.
Well, they have a great song too. That "Kidnap the Santa Claus" song is so incredibly catchy, but also sort of off key, strangely enough.
Yeah.
They're so loyal to their boss, to the Oogie Boogie Man. I mean, the whole idea was you're not supposed to talk about any of this, and you know, Jack, the all-powerful Jack, is giving them this instruction, and the first thing to do is think, how can we work this so that it's to the Oogie Boogie Man's advantage.
Right.
Well, they are you know, only they seem slightly you know, a little bit more benign than Oogie Boogie, but only slightly so. They have like that undercurrent of, you know, kids in the media are often played as completely innocent, but there is a sort of sadistic side to children that doesn't really get played up very much, except these characters are very good examples of that sort of malicious aspect of childhood, but you know, in a safe way. Right. And you know, certainly, you know, the fact that they did go out of their way to make sure that the observance of trick or treating was also referenced. I mean, the you know, what scene sums up this movie better than Santa Claus getting trick or treated?
Mm-hmm.
Well, also, yeah, I mean, they're like I said, they're the embodiment of like the mischief of trick or treating and the mischief for children. Also, the opposite of those kids will never ever get presents if you go by have you been naughty or nice. Like they don't fit into Christmas Town at all. Because they just would never. They would never.
I don't think that they would want to, though. Like I think
that's definitely.
They want to live on a diet of. They want to live on a diet of refined sugar, which I am thoroughly convinced that the only thing that you can eat in Halloween Town is candy. And,
I love
when
they get like it's put in the bag and he has like the candy corn or the lollipop, like the leftover Halloween candy stuck to his beard. That was cracking me up.
That was funny. I love that they kidnapped the Easter Bunny first by accident.
And he's so terrified. Funny. Like he is so. I mean, Santa Claus is angry and disappointed, and you know, but the Easter Bunny it's such a horrific experience.
Yeah, the Easter Bunny, I think, was going to therapy after that one. I don't think he so Santa got mad. Like, and this may be the crankiest Santa Claus in the history of film. But you can't really blame him. Huh?
Santa can be pretty mean. Santa's like known like in other cultures for actually being like, I mean, he's got to be pretty stern to be like, okay, yes, little kid, you can have a present, but not you. Not you naughty little brat. I'm like, you gotta, be a little unrelenting. Like, one of the things that I like to give students, like when I'm helping, like teaching young kids lessons, maybe it's not always the time, but candy can be a good motivator. And, when you're like, you're not going to be good, you're not going to get any candy, you feel kind of bad at the end, like when it gets to that point, even though if they didn't earn the candy, they didn't earn it, but you still feel bad. But not Santa. Santa's like, you think you're getting to Nintendo? I'm just dropping you a lump of coal in your stocking.
Yeah, I knew a teacher, it was a friend of mine who he was telling me about that he was kind of a special needs kid who taught other special needs kids, and when the kids acted up, he had a cell phone. He would get out and go, "I'm going to call Santa."
No, I did that today. I did that. I'm not today. I did that yesterday to my daughter. I said, "I think I'm going to have to write a letter to Santa Claus and tell him that you don't deserve to have any gifts."
Santa's an awful motivator. Maybe not always used for good.
Yeah.
Certainly for the good of whatever parents want.
That's right. Hey, so we need to close up here, but I wanted to, before we go to our closing thoughts, I wanted to talk a little bit about the love story between Jack and Sally. I know that Jaime started to talk a little bit about it at the beginning, but I'm curious to hear how you guys think that plays out, and do you think it's just kind of like tacked on at the end, or do you think it follows naturally from their evolution of their relationship?
Jaime?
I love that there's an admirer. I love that, that usually it's just the opposite in movies where you're supposed to be watching a man chase a woman for the most part. And, a princess is supposed to, or a girl, or, whenever, especially in cartoons, they're supposed to, they wait for the Prince Charming. But she's not only, running out of the house, doing what she can, jumping out of windows so she can, see him. She's making him little treats, and she's basically courting him, and she doesn't really get the time of day. He kind of smirks sometimes, and it's, it's sad to see that, and it kind of, it adds to this almost like hopeless spirit that the movie has for a while. You feel like, in a way, almost all of these characters are all doomed, which is something I always feel like, is very reoccurring in a lot of Tim Burton movies.
Well, I think their relationship is probably doomed because even though they have that sweet moment, I mean, he's just not. He's not the relationship type. I don't think.
I think that changes.
I actually want to say that. Sorry.
Well, I'm saying he's having this crisis where he's so inside his own head and just, in his case, in his own skull, just trying to figure things out. And, I'm sure everybody's been at a point where, it's very selfish, and I'm sure there's someone around you in that situation where if you've had to be in that position, someone who's cared about you has had to suffer. And they suffer not just because they're, being ignored, but they're watching someone that they care about suffer. So it's, I think it's important that they have, like, the forgiving nature of their relationship, that, after she's constantly trying to save him from himself, and she has all the, the premonition, and when, everybody else is like, yay, Jack, she's the one, when he's up in the sleigh, like, oh, gosh, having...
When she thinks it's a terrible idea, yeah.
I think
that... I actually want to say that I think it's a more realistic flirtation than a lot of movies that don't star stop-motion monsters.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Like, she goes after him in a way that would I would go out and say, like, if I was being okay, I'm a happily married man, mind you, but like if I was single and somebody was going after me in the way that she is going after Jack, that would probably work on me.
I think it works on. I mean, one thing that's awesome about it is you could have just a movie about one holiday discovers another holiday land, and that would be a good movie. And yet, from everything I've seen from his work and everything, you get the impression that, you're pretty sure Tim Burton's a romantic at heart, It plays so heavily, and also being an outcast, like there's all the lost love that people, if I just, I bet it would be cool to hang out with that person or to, be a part of that group or whatever, but you end up also, and for Jack, it's also a thing where anybody who's driven by art or anything where you are focused solely on your thing that you're doing, and she's kind of the voice of reason and kind of the outside world that brings him and says, there's more to it than this, and hey, I'm a real person too, and so it's that and love. I mean, it adds such an extra, really nice texture to round out everything.
I want to say I also don't think their relationship is doomed. Like when they say
I don't think that they're doomed either. I hope I didn't give that. I wasn't saying that they were doomed. I said that throughout the movie that you felt as if there is this impending doom.
No, I was the one who said that the relationship was doomed.
Julia said that.
Yeah.
I'm too much of a romantic. I never think things are doomed.
Yeah, I don't think so at all. I think it's more of a
It'll depend on how much he's changed. If he has really changed and he's not like this,
He's self-actualized at the end of the movie.
I think
he's accepted who he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's not doomed then. Anyway,
his failure was his therapy, I think, in his midlife crisis.
Yeah. I hope so. I guess I have to. I know too many
daddy issues.
I guess I've seen too many relationships fail recently, so I'm kind of a little cynical about it. Just like all these 40-year-olds that are like getting divorced.
That's why we have this movie.
I know.
Have to be that way.
That's right.
That's what this is about, right? Like,
if Halloween and Christmas can get along, everybody can get along.
Exactly.
There you go. All right. Well, so with that, let's go ahead and get into our closing thoughts. Jaime, do you have any closing thoughts you would like to share with us? And we'll do endorsements later after that.
Oh, geez. Closing thoughts about the movie?
Yeah.
Well, if you have children and you want them to see something awesome, you should definitely watch this movie. I remember my parents not actually wanting me to see it because, they were very worried about how unwholesome it seemed, which is funny that we were all talking about how, it's so wholesome, so wholesome. There's a lot of people out there who did not think it was wholesome, and my family was included. But I love the fact that I got to see this movie anyways, and I feel like it definitely affected the person I grew up into. So, if you got your kid who's apparently the black sheep of your family, maybe a little artsy, you don't understand them, maybe, show them this movie. But if you're listening to this podcast, you probably are that person in that kid. So, I guess I probably didn't have to tell you that. So I guess that was a bit of a redundant and pointless last word. Onwards and upwards. Happy holidays.
Well, we appreciate you being with us tonight, and I know Jason's
thanks.
Working on some deadlines, but he says he missed everybody, but we're glad to have you here in his stead.
Well, thank you. It's
I think it's
a nice break from music for a little while.
Well, I think it's appropriate on a movie that's a musical that we have not one but two musicians taking on the subject.
That is cool. What about you, Drew? What are your closing thoughts?
This is gone from being a cult classic to a true American holiday classic, and I think it will only continue to endure as time goes on. This is a great film, and Tony said that there's probably, as it has become more and more mainstream, there's become kind of a backlash to it, but screw the haters. All right, this is stop drinking your holiday haterade and start loving on The Nightmare Before Christmas, because you are a Grinch You are a Scrooge if you cannot, cozy up next to your best guy or your best girl and throw this movie on, because this will warm even the most cynical of hearts, in my opinion.
I love haterade. I've never heard that before. Is that a thing?
Never heard haterade?
That's a thing.
Oh my goodness.
I'm down with the streets, Julia.
See, well, you guys are the generation before mine, so I don't, by the time something reaches me, it's been around for the block a few times.
We're hip to that kind of jive, I guess.
What about you, Tony?
I will be very, very sad if this movie fails to move me when I see it. That would be a sad, sad day. It works for me every time. The soundtrack is amazing. Like I said, we make up many songs. It's part of our just daily, maybe, or at least weekly, I find myself singing something from it in some variation. So it's definitely a part. It gives, a lot of the people, like you said, people who are listening to this podcast, it's given us, a lot of us, a voice in the holiday time when maybe, a Hallmark special isn't what you think of when you want to watch something during the holidays. This is definitely in rotation with, now I'm adding rare exports to that because it's awesome. But those kind of twisted Christmas kind of things without going into the,
which, by the way, we have
Santa.
Which we did. Yeah, which we did the podcast. But it's
we also mentioned Gremlins, and we have a podcast of that too.
Exactly.
Yep.
So it's in that pantheon of not your Hallmark usual kind of things, and growing up, in Rankin Bass, it kind of merged the wholesomeness of those with, a new kind of version of it where outcasts can feel welcome, as well as, just something different. It's beautiful. The craftsmanship is amazing. It works for me every time. I could watch it. I've lost count how many times I've seen it already. And again, if you feel like you have to hate it because it's become more popular, because it's not the indie band you once loved, then seriously get over yourself and actually just learn to enjoy things. Sure. Yeah, just so I have so many friends who I wonder, I'm like, when did you quit being able to enjoy things? You don't have to just like every single thing. That's fine. But I really do feel like we live in an age where so many people just have stopped. There's so much entertainment out there that they've stopped being entertained for some reason, or feeling like they, can be entertained, and that makes me kind of sad. That makes me wish that they could go back and watch this, or movies like this, or any movie back from their childhood where you saw it on TV and it happened to come on and you're like, yeah, it's that time of year again. This movie makes me like that no matter what. So.
Awesome.
The age of contrarians.
Well, I'll just say in closing for me that I just really think it's so beautiful. I guess it appeals to all the senses, except for perhaps for smell or touch, because you can't really touch. Well, it would be if you could be on set, because it is stop motion, so even touch. But it's just so beautiful, and it's just the music is awesome, and it's heartwarming, like you were saying, and so I definitely am glad to have watched it again, because I hadn't seen it in a while. So and I need to get the soundtrack so that we can add it to our holiday soundtrack around here, like you guys have.
Oh, it's fantastic driving around, by the way. It just works.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, great. Well, I really appreciate you guys sharing your thoughts, and if you have some endorsements, we can throw those out, whoever wants to.
Well, I know. Just Jaime, you have something you would like to plug. I'm sure.
My tour. That's probably what I'm assuming you're talking about. Yep, Danger Cakes is hitting the road. We're heading out to Victoria, Texas on Thursday, and New Orleans on Friday, and Shreveport on Saturday and Sunday.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's going to be a fun weekend. So please check us out on where we'll be. Obviously, we won't be in Austin, but we'll be in the Victoria Downtown Bar and Grill Thursday, Checkpoint Charlie's Friday night, and the Tiki Bar and Grill, on Saturday in Shreveport, and then Maryland's for brunch Sunday. So you're going to be in Shreveport. Come have breakfast with us. I'm pretty excited because apparently it's like the best place in town for some food, and you all know how I love food. But my actual endorsement is for basic, it's the holidays, and yes, it shouldn't be, we shouldn't have to take that time to reflect on, the year we've had and be told to buy people who we care about presents or, show little types of gratitude. But it's nice to have an excuse to do so anyways. So, I just want to say, be patient. There are a lot of people out on the roads and in stores, and it's easy to let the Christmas spirit kind of go out the window when you're elbow deep in aisles of crowded people and trying to get that, present that you have on your list for someone. But, take that extra moment to be all the more, thoughtful and generous towards your fellow man and your view.
Well, that's lovely. Thank you.
Awesome.
Very sweet. Very sweet. Well,
and then
can anybody?
Yeah, the Danger Cake CD. If you want to buy one of those, please use that
Hey.
to the store. So, just saying. CD Baby, iTunes, Amazon.com. It's all there. All right.
Anybody want to follow that, or is that a good note to end on?
I have some stuff I want to
All right.
plug and endorse. First off, yes, you should buy Jaime's CD because it is very, very excellent and catchy and fun, and makes me happy when I listen to it. The other thing that I want to plug that's somewhat selfish, I have, back around Thanksgiving, I updated my website with a new webcomic. It's a very important story to me because I have a character that is in that is loosely based on my deceased brother. So I was working through some stuff when I wrote this one, and I put a lot into it. Sergio, my artist, really went to town on all the character designs and everything. So it's Halloween Man Smells Like Teen Spirit, and you can read it for free at HalloweenMan.com, so please mosey on over and take a look at that. My non-selfish endorsement is actually for The New Frontier, which is a graphic novel by Darwin Cook that he put out about a decade ago now, but it's long been kind of my writer's block cure. It takes a lot of the DC Comics characters like Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and transplants them back into the Cold War era of the 1950s and 60s. So it's just beautifully done and incredibly complex and well written, and is, in my opinion, should be up there with things like Watchmen and Kingdom Come. So I think it's kind of an ignored classic. I actually think it's better than Dark Knight Returns, which is supposedly the best thing that DC Comics thing or whatever. But if you are a comic book guy, and I know a lot of the people that listen to this podcast are comic book fans as well, please go through Half Price Books or go to your local comic book store, hunt this down. They actually made a kind of pretty cool animated movie based off of it too, but the comic is infinitely better. So that's The New Frontier by Darwin Cook.
Great. Thank you very much. Tony, did you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. Actually, we're playing our first out-of-town show with Deserts of Mars in Waco at Treff's this weekend with a really cool band called Beautiful Disturbance, and they've been friends of ours for a while since we played with them at Red Eye Fly here in Austin. And so we're going to do that. And then on the 29th, we're doing a show. Actually, Billy is coming back because Eric is going to be away. Eric, who's our new drummer for Deserts of Mars, and gave the endorsement for Billy to come play, I guess, a reunion show, even though we've only had a couple shows with Eric. We're playing with Descendants of Erdrick, who are good friends of ours who play video game music, as well as my other band, Picari Shred, so I'm going to be doing double duty. Really awesome prog metal band called Ethereal Architect, and a really talented band that I like. They're a lot of fun called Holy Cacao. It's closing out the night, and that's going to be really fun on the 29th. But if you happen to listen to this and you are in Waco or that area, come see us at Treff's. I'm going to post it on. It's posted on Facebook, and I'll be updating our website as well.
I love that name, Holy Cacao. That's actually one of my favorite beverages is cacao, which is
yeah, they're really awesome. Their singer is the whole band's really good. Their singer is really talented. She has a great voice. I really enjoy playing with them. Actually, all the bands on the bill. If the bill is half as good as the people I know who are in it, it's going to be just a really great night. Cool. On the kind of selfish thing, a couple of things. I just got back on Sunday morning from this year's But-Numathon, which Harry Knowles is his birthday celebration / film festival, and this year was really awesome. It flowed so well. And a couple of things that happened before But-Numathon, they brought these guys back who, in Mississippi, filmed over the course of several years a shot-for-shot remake of Raiders of the Lost Ark. And it's amazing. It was long and hard, and they finally got it done, and then weren't friends, and they got to be friends, and it got passed around. And they showed it again at the Draft House. And they also have a book out called Raiders, and the headline being the story of the greatest fan film ever made. And truly, it's just an amazing piece of work and what they did to make the movie. And they're really cool people as well. So I need to put that link up because the book, I'm just getting into it, and so far I'm really hooked. They actually stayed for But-Numathon after they showed the movie, which was really awesome. And so if you can see the movie somehow, it's really cool. And then if you can you definitely read the book, so that's pretty awesome. I wish they would have put that movie on the new Blu-ray box, because that would have been awesome. Love Raiders. But on the horror movie side, I can't say much about it, and it's been out, so I'm hoping it's safe to say. I saw a movie called Mama, and Guillermo del Toro had a hand in producing it, and which, by the way, he gives awesome Q&A at movie festivals. He's really funny. But this movie was super creepy. I'm not sure, Julia, if you would enjoy the level of child endangerment and really scariness of it, but if you are a horror fan, and again, there's already we live in an age where there's already a backlash. It wasn't so good, blah blah blah. Man, it was scary to me, and I enjoyed it. Yes, there's jump scares, but there's so much good stuff, Drew. I think I can't wait for it to come out so you can see this. I want to hear what you think. But this movie, Mama, watch for it. It definitely gets my endorsement. I'm hoping that it plays a lot of places because it is really creepy and scary, and I think it just hit a lot of things that I like about horror movies are in there. So, and also one of the best scenes of somebody doing something actually smart. When people say, "Oh, people never do anything smart," it's like there's one scene that I'm like, everybody's like, "Yes, that's exactly what you do." There's plenty of other parts where you're like, "Oh, don't do that," but this one scene in particular was like, "Yes, smart people in horror movies. Let's go for that. More of that." So it was really awesome.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, guys and lady. We will be back with our usual host. Hopefully, we haven't shamed him too badly here. I think we did all right. Next week with Scrooged, our part 2 of our 2-part holiday special, I guess you'd say. And then we'll take a break for a couple of weeks for the holidays and be back sometime in January. So hopefully folks will come back and listen to Scrooge next week, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. And thanks again, Jamie, for helping us out.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me. Have a good one.
Bye.
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 Happy holidays.
Yes, definitely.